Welcome to this course on HTML and CSS for complete beginners. My name is Syed and I'll be the instructor for this course. I'm going to walk you through the basics for HTML and CSS by taking a look at the tags. But even before we actually get into the actual development of a web page and some of the tools and techniques, we are going to basically set up our environment and also demonstrate that this course is complete hands-on. So if you have any questions, definitely post in the discussion area, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer so that you get the best of the best learning. And of course, this is a hands-on course, and I'm going to walk you through from scratch. So with this, I'll see you in class.
So in this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to download XAMPP, which is a web server. Now first, what is a web server? So think of a web server is going to a restaurant and ordering something off of the menu. So the waiter comes and takes your order, goes to the kitchen and brings that order. So think of that restaurant as a web server, and then of course your instructions are to bring something for you, whether it is food or drink and so on. So similarly, a web server is nothing but fetches a set of pages for you when you ask for certain pages to be displayed. So the fundamental two elements that make up a web server is obviously the user and then the server that serves you web pages. A third element that makes up a web server is the database. In other words, the database is where your login, your passwords essentially are stored. So in a nutshell, a web server is something that hosts your websites and allows you to create and manage multiple web pages. Now there are various web servers out there, such as the Apache web server. There are other personal web servers out there. There are hundreds of them. And if you're familiar with hosting companies like GoDaddy or HostGator, for instance, they provide web servers where you can upload your websites once you create them. But in this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to create our own web server, how to download and configure your computer to become a web server. In other words, all of the development or the website development, for instance, you will be doing on your own computer, which will make your computer as a local web server or act as a local host among several free web servers. So let me in fact give you the definition of a web server. So I'm just going to go to Google and type web server, and it will give me a small description such as a web server is simply a computer system that processes requests via HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and that's the basic network protocol used to distribute information on the World Wide Web. So the term can refer either to the entire system or specifically to the software that accepts and supervises the HTTP requests. So in this lesson, we are going to create our own server so that we're able to host our own web pages locally on our computer. So let's go ahead. Let me search the web server. The one that we're going to use in this lesson is called XAMPP. So I'm going to use Google to just simply navigate to the XAMPP keyword, and my search results, notice, are displayed. I can download XAMPP from sourceforge.net, and there are other sites as well. But sourceforge.net, pretty reliable site, so we're going to use this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on XAMPP, and this brings us to the download page where I can download the XAMPP. So once again, the URL is sourceforge.net/projects/XAMPP, or simply go to Google, type in XAMPP, and it will take you to this page. Once you're on this page, you can download XAMPP for either Windows, Mac, Solaris, or Linux, so depending upon your own operating system, you can download XAMPP accordingly. Another thing I want to mention here before we actually begin our download is that it's an easy to install Apache distribution containing MySQL, PHP, and Perl, and other scripting languages as well. I can also go to the XAMPP website. So let me navigate there as well. Just simply right click, open a new window, just to show you the various XAMPP installers and download. So this web server called XAMPP will work with Apache, MariaDB, PHP, and Perl. It contains all of those, and you can download again from the XAMPP website or SourceForge. So there are multiple ways you can download this web server. And here is the version for Windows, for Linux, and for Macintosh. So it doesn't really make any difference where you download it from, as long as you're downloading the correct version for the operating system that you have. And once again, if I read the description, XAMPP is a completely free, so there's no charge to downloading this software. Easy to install Apache distribution containing MariaDB, PHP, and Perl. The XAMPP open source package has been set up to be incredibly easy to install and to use. So let me go ahead and click on the XAMPP for Windows download, which is version 5.6.15. As soon as I click on it, the download will begin and automatically bring up my Windows Explorer, where I would have to save the XAMPP for Win32, the 5.6.15 version, and the installer package, which is the executable file, and the file extension is exe. So let me navigate to my downloads folder here, and under my documents, data files, and XAMPP. Notice at this point in this folder that I already created, there's nothing in it. So I'm simply going to save the installer file into this folder. So all I did was simply navigate to the folder where I wish to save the XAMPP software, and then I'm going to click save, and it's going to download the XAMPP for me. And notice on the bottom left, it shows me the download time as well as the size of the file. So it's about 109 megabytes. So it's going to take a little bit of time for it to download. But once it's downloaded, we can navigate back to our folder, the XAMPP folder, and then we can begin the installation process. So in this lesson, I simply wanted to highlight two important things. First, the concept of a web server, and secondly, downloading XAMPP on our computer so that we can make XAMPP and configure XAMPP as a web server. So I hope this helps. Practice downloading, and let's move to our next lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to configure your XAMPP server. So the installation is complete, our control panel is open. The two services that we need to start are the Apache and the MySQL. But before I even start configuring the XAMPP server, let me go ahead and click on Start for Apache and see what happens. So once I click on Start, notice Apache gives me an error that says cannot download, and a Windows security alert comes up and says Windows Firewall has blocked some of the features of Apache HTTP server on all public and private networks. And I'm using Windows 8 version. It doesn't really matter which Windows version you use or whichever operating system. If you have some firewall, you will probably get this message. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Allow Apache HTTP Server to communicate on these networks. So click on Private Networks, such as my home or work network, and click on Allow Access. Now once I've done this, if I were to click Start on Apache again, just to test one more time, notice it will still fail. Similarly, the same case is true for MySQL. If I click on Start, and MySQL brings up the same Windows security alert message. And in this instance, I will also tell MySQL to use the private networks, such as my home or my work network, and allow access. And MySQL successfully runs. And the reason for this is that SQL doesn't really use an external port. It uses my same operating system for its resources. But for Apache, if I were to click Start, it's going to give me an error. And until and unless I start the Apache server, my web server will not be up and running. So how do we go about configuring the Apache server? All we have to do is simply change port numbers to tell Apache that do not use the same port numbers that our web server uses. For example, I'm browsing the internet, I go to various websites. My system is using port 80, for instance, for my HTTP requests. Here, Apache cannot use the same port number, so I would need to configure it. To configure Apache, there's a button called config right next to the Apache services. So click on config. It brings up a menu and a couple of options that we will configure. First, the Apache httpd.conf file. So this is the first file that we will configure. Now these files can be opened in simple Notepad or any editor, right? So whether you have Notepad or Notepad++, doesn't really matter. It's just simple text file, or any text editor will open this file. So click on Apache httpd.conf file, and this brings up the Notepad. And anything that starts with a number sign means it's a comment, right? So it's not any code, there's no code, no nothing. It's just a comment that's explaining what this file does. So this is the main Apache HTTP server configuration file. Okay, so this is important that you open this file. And it contains the configuration directives that gives the user or the server its instructions. So here, using this file, we will change the port numbers, basically telling the web server not to use port 80, which our web browser uses, such as the Chrome in the background, but we will define our own port numbers for Apache server. So let's scroll down. So I'm going to scroll down. And by the way, if you were to use Notepad++, you will see some numbers on the left. So it's easier to navigate to the number line versus using the simple version of Notepad. And I'll demonstrate that next too. But first, let me show you how to configure it. So while scrolling down, you'll come to this line which says listen 80. So in other words, 80 is the port number by default that Apache wants to listen to. And this is what needs to be changed. So you can change it to any port number, let's say 8015. Okay. So the first configuration settings in the main Apache configuration file is changing your port to listen, or tell Apache to listen to 8015. Let's scroll down further. The second change that you will make within this file is change the host. So for instance, here's the server name localhost. So this line, you will change this to 805. So above, we change the port to 8015. Here you will simply say server name localhost 805. So these are the two basic configuration settings that you would do within the Apache file. And once you're done, simply close Notepad. It asks you to save it. Click Save. And you've configured your first file. Now notice I mentioned that you can also use Notepad++ instead of Notepad to configure this file, or any text editor. If you were to use Notepad++, if you have it installed on your computer, it will look something like this. Okay? So notice it starts with a number sign. So if I were to open a file here, for instance, let me bring up a recent file. Here's the changelog, for instance. Notice it gives you the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it just numbers the lines. That's all it does, and gives you some additional functionality. But it's the same file, same configuration settings, and so on. So whether you use Notepad or Notepad++ or any editor, it's one of the same things. All right, so far we have configured the main Apache configuration files, and we have changed two settings. First, the port number, and then the localhost port. Next, we will click on configure again, and we'll configure the SSL configuration file, which is the second on the menu here. And SSL is secure socket layer. So we'll change this file and some configuration setting in here as well. In other words, all we're doing is just changing port numbers. We're telling Apache to use our own port numbers and not worry about the predefined port numbers that our browser uses. So let's open this file. Once this file is open, and again, this is the Apache server configuration file providing SSL support, which is the secure socket layer support. And by this, we mean the HTTPS, right? So certain web addresses start with HTTP and certain start with HTTPS. S simply means that this site is secured, and for the most part, e-commerce sites or other sites, they use a secured socket layer. So within this document, simply navigate down, and here's our first port setting here. So I'm going to change the port 443, which is the default port for SSL. I'm going to change it to, say, let's say 10433 or 10443. In other words, just change the number, okay? Change the port number. So after you change the first configuration setting, port number, let's scroll down, and there's an option called the virtual host. And here's the virtual host number, and you would use the same virtual host or same port number to define the virtual host as well to use the SSL. So again, two settings that we changed in the SSL config file. So let's close this, click save. So once again, we've configured both of these files, the Apache configuration files, we defined port numbers, and the Apache SSL config files and define the port numbers. So after you're done with this, let's click on the config tool button on the top within the control panel. If you click on this, this will bring up the configuration of the control panel, and there's an option called service and port settings. So we'll click on service and port settings. This brings up the service settings, and here notice our main port has now been changed to 8015, and the SSL port is changed to 10443, and these are the same settings that we changed earlier in the configuration files. So once you verify and make sure that the same port numbers exist within the configuration files and the ones that you enter here, click save, and click save one more time to commit all the changes. Now that our settings are changed, let's see whether our Apache server starts or not. So I'm going to go ahead and click on start, and Apache successfully starts, and it shows me that the port numbers that Apache is using right now, or this web server is using right now, is 8015 and 10443 for my SSL. In some instances, you may have heard or you may come across an option where your Skype, if you're using Skype, configuration issues. In other words, since Skype also uses port 80, but that should not make any difference. As long as these ports are unique, it should not make any difference. I've seen many times in various blogs or other articles where it says you have to uninstall Skype to install XAMPP. Well, that's not the case. As long as you have the ports number unique, it should run fine. And I have Skype installed. Let me bring up my Skype here and let's verify. So if I click on Tools, Options, go to my Advanced, and click on Connection. Notice Skype uses port 80 and 443 for additional incoming connections. And I've configured my Apache server to use totally different ports. So there will be no reason to change Skype here as well. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify this as well. So click cancel. Get back to our configuration panel. Wonderful. So at this point, we have successfully configured the XAMPP server and our two services are running. How do we verify whether we can connect to the local host or this web server? In other words, what is the URL of this web server? Notice at this point, this is a public URL. HTTPS www.claydesk.com is a public URL. Similarly, if I go to any other website, I can navigate and click on that and it will take me there. But how do I connect to this web server that we just configured? Well, remember the port numbers, right? It's 8015 to connect to your local host, for instance. So I'm going to show you this. So let's click on our new window here. Let me click on HTTP, and I'm going to say local host and a colon, because this is how you connect. And I'm going to say 8015. This is my port number. So once again, it's HTTP : / localhost : 8015. So here I'm telling my web browser, which is Chrome in this instance, that hey, go ahead and connect to the XAMPP server. So hit enter, and it will bring up the dashboard for my XAMPP server. I notice the address is localhost:8015/dashboard. So this implies that we have successfully configured our XAMPP server. As long as you can see the dashboard, we're good. So I hope this helps. Practice configuring the XAMPP server, and let's move to our next lesson. So in this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to install your XAMPP software that we downloaded in the previous lesson. So on the bottom left corner, notice our download is now complete. To verify this download, I can always navigate to my XAMPP folder on my computer just to make sure that I have the executable file present or not. So let me in fact first demonstrate by just to make sure that we have the file by going to our Explorer. So I'm going to navigate to my Windows Explorer, and the folder called XAMPP that I created earlier is under Data Files and XAMPP folder. And notice here is the XAMPP Win32 file, executable file. I can obviously install directly from here by simply clicking twice on it, and it will bring up the XAMPP installer. Or if I'm downloading or it has downloaded right off of my web browser, I can simply click on the XAMPP installer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on XAMPP installer. This is going to open up the XAMPP installer, and it displays a warning message that says important because an activated user account control on your system, some functions of XAMPP are possibly restricted. With UAC, please avoid to install XAMPP to your C drive or deactivate UAC with the msconfig after the setup. Now what this does is simply is warning you that you're about to install a web server that is going to use certain resources that your Windows uses. So for example, such as ports. Once you install a web server, it will require some port configuration. And these ports are important because your Windows or your current web browser, for instance my Chrome that I'm using here to navigate to the internet, is using a certain port number. When I install my XAMPP web server, this XAMPP web server also requires a certain port. So therefore, I get a warning message that some of the functions of XAMPP may be restricted, but we'll fix that. So no big deal here. Simply click OK to the warning message, and it will bring up the XAMPP setup dialog box. Simply click Next. Here we can select the components that we wish to install. For instance, we need to install the server. Obviously that is checked. We need to install the Apache MySQL database, the FileZilla FTP server, the Mercury mail server, Tomcat, programming languages such as PHP and Perl, and other programming languages such as PHP MyAdmin, Webalizer, or Fake Sendmail. Now, these are all various softwares that get installed when you install this free web server. But importantly, for XAMPP to function, we need the Apache, the MySQL, and then PHP MyAdmin. Because recall the basic functionality of XAMPP is three things, right? We need the database, we need the actual web server to serve the pages, and of course, the user that provides the instructions to the web server. But we're going to leave all the components checked. Click Next. Here's the folder, installation folder. So it says, please choose a folder to install XAMPP. Since I already have a folder created, I'm going to navigate to that folder. So I'm going to click on the folder icon and simply go to my Documents folder, my data files, and here's the XAMPP folder. Now notice this is the same XAMPP folder that we downloaded the actual software in, so we can install it in the same folder. Click OK, and notice your new file path is displayed. Click Next. The selected folder is not empty. Please select a different folder. Okay, so it gives you a warning message that, hey, wait a minute, we cannot install XAMPP in the same folder. You need to create a new folder that will contain the installation files. So click OK. Let's navigate back to our folder. Let me navigate down to my XAMPP folder here. Here I'm going to make a new folder by clicking on Make New Folder. And I'm going to call this XAMPP Install and click OK. Now if I click Next, XAMPP is ready to begin the installation process. And if you wish to learn more about the Bitnami for XAMPP, you can leave this box checked, or you can simply uncheck it and click Next. And setup is now ready to begin the installation XAMPP on your computer. I'm going to click Next, and the installation process begins. First, it's going to unpack all the files and then install XAMPP on your computer. Our setup is finished, and XAMPP asks us, do we wish to start the control panel now? And yes, let's click on Finish. And this brings up the control panel. And here, control panel is version 3.2.2. Now, before I start explaining the control panel of the XAMPP, a couple of things I want to add here is during the installation process or before you bring up the control panel, you may have to run the XAMPP setup.bat file, and that's a batch file. So let me first show you where this file is. So let's go to our Explorer, and under the installation folder, here's the setup.xampp.bat. And this batch file simply runs and clears the cache and simply runs a small script. For example, if I were to run this again, notice it brings up the command prompt and it will run the script. So this is an automatic process. So before you bring up the control panel, you may have to run the setup.bat and make sure that your C++ redistributable 2008 version is also downloaded and installed before you can successfully open up the control panel and finish the installation process. And by that, I mean, let's go back to the internet here. Let me open up a new tab and simply say Microsoft redistributable C++ and 2008 version. This is a required element of the XAMPP software download. So simply navigate to the Download Microsoft Visual C++ site, scroll down, and this is where you would simply click on the download link and it will start the download process for the Visual C++ redistributable. And this is a runtime component of the Visual C libraries that are required to run applications that are developed with Visual C. And since XAMPP is an open source web server, you would need this package to be installed. So just simply click on download, for instance, and it will start the download process. And once the download is complete, you simply click save and run the download. I already have this installed and run. So just keep that in mind. This is also one of the components that you may run during the installation process. And if you do so and you do get a message, it will specifically tell you to download this and install it. Okay, so I just wanted to cover this so that you know. So let's cancel. Let's go back to our control panel here. Two of them open. Let me close one. Here we go. Perfect. So here's our XAMPP control panel version 3.2.2. And notice the services are Apache, MySQL, FileZilla, Mercury, and Tomcat. These are the options that we had selected during the install that we wanted them to be installed as well. But in essence, we will only use the Apache and the MySQL to configure our web server and to be able to create websites and host on this web server. So at this point, our installation is complete and our XAMPP control panel is open. So practice downloading and installing XAMPP. In the next lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to configure our control panel before we can start using it. So with this, let's move to our next lesson. In this lesson, moving forward, I'm going to demonstrate how to download quickly the Atom editor for our code. We will be using this editor. And then also the Bootstrap files that are required. So a couple of things that I'm going to demonstrate how to download. Again, pretty straightforward. Let me run through this. Okay, so let's search for our Bootstrap first. And just simply click on the link where it says Bootstrap, or you can navigate directly to the getbootstrap.com. So click on this, and you can simply click on download, and it will download the Bootstrap for you. So the current version is 3.3.6. Pretty straightforward, just downloads a zip file, and then you install the zip file. So once you download and save it on your computer, let me quickly show you that also. So let's go to our Windows Explorer here. And within my HD docs, By the way, once you configure your XAMPP server, you'll have this folder called htdocs, which is important because everything inside htdocs is where we'll be working with. So let me scroll down here. Okay, here it is. So once you've downloaded the zip file for Bootstrap, for example, you extract the files, and here's the trick, right? So here's the important part. So within the Bootstrap folder, there are 3 folders: CSS, fonts, and JS. So all you have to do is just, again, copy these folders to one of the folders that you're going to be creating inside htdocs as your workable folders, whether it's tutorial, whether it's SI578, or any name that you give. So this is something that you will create. So for instance, within the tutorial folder that I've created, I already have these 3 files: CSS, font, and JS. So just download Bootstrap, extract the zip files, and place these 3 folders within the folders that you'll be working with. Just that simple. Once you have these Bootstrap files, let me next show you how to download Atom Editor also. Okay, so let's go back to our Google, go home, and just you can go directly to atom.io, or you can just Google it, call Atom Editor, and click on the atom.io URL. It'll take you to the Atom site. You can simply download the Windows installer to install the Atom, and it looks like this. So pretty powerful editor, flexible, although there are others available as well, but I find this very easy to use, especially if you're coding all day long. This is much easier to work with. So once Atom is installed, you can simply open the software, and it'll look like something like this. So I hope this helps. Practice downloading these softwares, and let's move to our next lesson. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the content. You're finding this course valuable so far. Even though there are a few lessons down, there are several more lessons and lectures that are about to come. So if you would like to leave a review at this point in time by just taking a few lectures and you feel the content is valuable and you're happy with it, please do so. Otherwise, I would recommend you go on, continue further with this particular course, and as you move along lectures, you'll definitely gain some additional knowledge, skills, and enhance your skills as well. And later on, you can always come back and leave a review accordingly. We value your feedback. If you do not find something within the given lectures, for instance, feel free to reach out to me directly, send a message. Let us know which lecture, which topics, or which areas of this course that you'd like for us to concentrate on further, and let us know, and we'll be happy to create those lectures for you. Our ultimate goal is to make sure that you get the best learning experience and gain sufficient knowledge from this particular course. We teach over 200,000 plus happy students on Udemy, and we have over 50 courses so far. So every course that we make, our goal is to go take you through a progression, because it's really a learning journey as you progress through the course. If you're an experienced person, for instance, you may find certain lectures real novice at this point in time, but if you're a beginner, that's perfect. So let us know how the pace is. We try to keep the courses or the pace of the courses to cater to all level of students. But of course, if you find something interesting, if you need to learn more, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to assist. We at Team ClayDesk strive to provide the best learning experience to you, and we create our courses accordingly. With our ample experience, industry level experience, and real world experience, we try to bring projects in so that you get the best of what's really happening in the real world. So go ahead, I welcome you again. Continue with the learning journey. If you have any questions, definitely post in the discussion area. If you need something additional, let us know. I'll be happy to help. With this, I'll see you in the next lecture.
Hello guys, and welcome back to lesson 2 of module 2. In this lesson, we're going to find a proper code editor to begin with our coding and to begin with the basics of HTML and CSS. And this is because Notepad is just a simple editor like text editor in Mac, and the alternative of text editor in Mac is Notepad or Notepad++ in Windows. So it's not that convenient to do coding or create a whole entire website inside Notepad++. So in this lesson we're going to find a proper code editor so we could begin with our proper coding. So let's navigate to our browser first, and over here we're going to type in code editors, for example. Press enter and you will get a couple of links, the 11 best code editors, the 12 best code editors, etc. But I've done a lot of research, and the editor that I found is Brackets editor, which is completely free and it's a super cool editor. So let's quickly type Brackets editor over here, press enter, and you will get a link to brackets.io. Simply click this link, and after you've been navigated to brackets.io, you have to click this button where it says download Brackets 1.6 plus extract by Adobe. So basically Brackets is a publication of Adobe, and it's a super cool editor that is very easy and comfortable to use. And the most important thing about it is it's open source and it's completely free. So you simply need to click this button over here, download Brackets editor, and once you click this, it will prompt you your Windows, or in other words File Explorer, that where do you want to save this Brackets file. So once it prompts you your File Explorer, navigate to the folder where you want to save this, and then you simply need to click save. As I've already downloaded and installed Brackets editor onto my PC, I won't click save over here. So you guys just need to click save over here, and once this extract has been downloaded, you need to run and install. And they are a very simple, in few steps. You just need to accept the license of agreement, and then it will automatically be installed onto your PC or wherever you want it installed. I would recommend you to install it on your desktop. So this was the end of this lesson. I taught you how to download Brackets editor. We chose this super cool Brackets editor out of thousands of open source Brackets editor, and other examples of bracket editors are Sublime Text, Coda, etc. But these are all paid editors and you have to pay to buy them, or in other words to download them onto your PC. And some other examples of free editors are Brackets editor, for example, Atom editor, for instance, etc. So you can also choose Atom editor, download it, because it's also very similar to Brackets editor and also similar to Sublime Text, that is paid. So this was the end of this module, and in the next module we'll continue with the basics of HTML and continue where we left off with our code. And I'm also going to teach you how to create list tags, what are list tags, and how many types of list tags are present in HTML. So stay tuned, stay focused, keep practicing. If you have any problems or any questions up till now, feel free to ask me via messages or in the discussions tab. And let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, and welcome back. And in this lesson we're going to download a super cool package, or in other words a super cool module named Emmet into our Brackets editor that makes our HTML and CSS workflow really easy to use and also makes it really swift. So without any further ado, let's begin. So we need to first navigate to our Internet Explorer or any browser you are using. I'm using Google Chrome right now, and over here you need to write Emmet and press enter. Once you press enter, it will give you a link to emmet.io. Simply click the first link. Now on this web page you need to scroll down and click this download button over here where it says download plugin for your favorite editor. So once you click download, you will have a couple of options, for example Sublime Text, Atom editor, Coda, and over here you need to find Brackets. So here we have our Brackets editor. Simply click this and it will give you some steps how to download Emmet into your Brackets editor. So it's very easy. You just need to run Brackets first, then select File, and inside File you need to select Extension Manager and find Emmet and click the install button. So let's navigate to our Brackets editor, and over here we need to click File, click Extension Manager, and over here you need to search Emmet. Once you search Emmet, it will give you a link or a module over here which makes high-speed HTML and CSS workflow. So you need to click this install button. However, I've already installed Emmet into my brackets editor, so I'm not getting that option, but you will get an option over here or a button over here which will say install. So you just need to click install and it will be installed into your brackets editor. So let's now close this. And the next step after installing Emmet editor is that you need to go to this Emmet into your navigation pane of your brackets editor and go down and enable Emmet. Just click this once and Emmet will be enabled into your brackets editor. So this was the end of this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed downloading Emmet editor. So stay focused, stay tuned, and let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, and welcome back to lesson 1 of this module. So in this module, we're going to create our first HTML web page. So to begin with our coding, we first need to find an editor. For this lesson, I'm going to use Notepad++ that is available on Windows PC. On Mac, the editor that is available for coding is text editor, which is an alternative for Notepad++ or Notepad. So let's quickly navigate to Notepad++ that I'm using right now. And over here, we have to start with our coding by defining our doc type first. So our doc type will be HTML. And let's quickly save this first. So it's an HTML file. So navigate to the folder where you want to save this. And I'll save it over here. Just over here. So I'll name it index.html. Save this. And now you can see that the syntax of our HTML code has been changed a little bit. So then we need to open up our HTML tags. And inside these HTML tags, we need to create our head tags and our body tags. So for example, if we navigate to a website, for example, claydesk.com/ecampus, you can see that we have a title ClayDesk eCampus, which is shown on the top of the tab. So to create this title, we need to go back to our Notepad++, and over here we need to create our head tag first. And remember, always to close the tags that you open up. So let's close this HTML tag, and we're going to create our head tags and body tags inside this HTML tag. So our head tag, close this head tag. Inside this head tag, to insert a title, we need to create our title tag. So our title tag, close this as well first. And inside, let's write my first website. Save this. And now let's also give some meta tags as well. The first meta tag will have a character set of, let's say, UDF8. This will be in double inverted commas. Close this meta tag with a / first. And we put a / because we can also close this meta tag like this, but we put a / over here and remove this meta tag because these tags are only put like I've inserted some text inside here. I have my open title tag, close title tag, and I have some text inside this title tag. So for example, if I need to have some text over here, then I have to close this meta tag over here. Otherwise, the developers and programmers use this method by just putting a / and then closing the tag because it gives us space to code more lines. Similarly, so this was a head tag, and now we need to create everything that we will write of our website in our body tags, because whatever we write in our body tags will be displayed on the web page. So let's have an example. For example, if I create body tags, close them as well, and inside these body tags, let's write hello world. Let's save this. Open up our HTML file. So here's our index.html file. just double click this and it will open up in your browser. So as you can see, we have our hello world, and it also displays our head tag as well. So let's go back to our Notepad++ and check what's the error over here. So the error is that we forgot to enter the opening tag of our closing head tag. Now if we save this, refresh, we will only have our hello world being displayed over here. Similarly, if I need to make this strong, for example, if I need to make this bold, I can just enter some strong tags, close it after this text, hello world, the closing tag will be strong, save this, go back, refresh, and you can see that we have a bold text over here. Similarly, to emphasize this, we can open up some emphasis tag, and the element EM is for emphasis. So close the emphasis as well, save, go back, refresh, and we have a bold hello world text with some emphasis, and emphasis in other words means italics. So we have our hello world, which is bold and is in italics. Now what if we need to make our hello world a heading? For example, we need to make it much larger and bold too. So we simply need to create our h1 tag, close it, go at the end of this line, and close your h1 tag. Save, navigate to your browser, refresh, and we have a much bold and much larger text. So how does the browser know that which font to use and how much to enlarge the font? So basically this is all code behind the browser that the developers have done. So as soon as we put the heading 1 tag, our HTML page or the browser's code identifies that it's an h1 tag, and it chooses the particular font and the size of the font that needs to be used. So this was our first web page, and now if we navigate back to our Notepad++, you can see that we've created our doctype HTML, created some HTML tags, created our head tags, inserted our title, inserted our body tags as well, and inside these body tags we created some text, hello world, gave it a strong tag, gave it some emphasis, and also gave it a heading 1 tag. So this was the end of this lesson. We created our first web page in pure HTML, and in the next lesson we're going to find out the proper editor that can be used to code much faster and much easier. So stay tuned, stay focused, and let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, and welcome back, and in this lesson we're going to continue with our coding, and I'm going to teach you more about list tags. So the last code we created was our hello world code, and after this hello world code I'm going to give us some space, but we'll stay in between the body tags. So there are a total of 3 types of list tags. The first is the unordered list, the second is the ordered list, and the third is the definition list. So first we're going to create an unordered list. So to create an unordered list, we simply need to write ul, a greater than sign, and some list tags. Press tab and it will give you your unordered list with some list tags in between. But I want 4 list tags over here. Press tab and it will give you 4 list tags. And this is all because of the Emmet package that we installed. So over here we're going to give us an option. For example, option 1 over here, option 2 over here, option 3 over here, and option 4 over here. Let's save this, navigate back to our index.html file, refresh, and we have our hello world and our unordered list having the text option 1, 2, 3, and 4. And note, in unordered list we get these bullet points instead of numbers. But what if we need numbers instead of our bullet points? So simply we need to go back to our brackets editor, and instead of this unordered list we need to type in ordered list, or in other words OL instead of this UL. But I'm going to create it separately, so just copy this, paste it over here, change the U to O, in the closing tag as well. Save this, go back, refresh, and we have an unordered list over here and an ordered list having 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So we have successfully created our unordered list and our ordered list as well. Now the third list is the definition list, and the definition list is a bit different from the unordered list and the ordered list. So to create a definition list, let's give us some space over here and write a tag DL. So DL, and in this I'm going to create a tag DT tag. So I'm going to have a DT tag, and inside and as a sibling to this tag I'm going to have a definition detail tag. So it will be DD. So as soon as I click tab, it will give me my definition list tags, my DT tags, and my DD tags as well, definition detail tags. So inside this DT I'm going to write sublime, or let's say brackets with a colon, and inside this definition detail tag I'm going to describe about brackets. So for example, brackets is an open source free editor. So let's save this, navigate back to our index.html file, and as soon as I refresh this page, you will see that we have a definition tab tag and we have our definition detail tag over here. So this is basically the definition list tag, and if I want more I can simply copy it from here and paste it a couple of times. For example, let's say 4 times. Save this, navigate back, refresh, and we have our unordered list, our ordered list, and our definition list over here. So this was the end of this lesson. We created and learned the 3 lists present in HTML5, and in the next lesson we're going to differentiate between parent-child relationships. We're going to learn more about siblings, and we're also going to learn more about ancestors and descendants. So stay tuned, stay focused, keep practicing, and let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, and welcome back to this lesson on parent-child relationships. In this lesson we're going to differentiate between parent and child. We're going to differentiate between siblings. We're going to learn more about ancestors and descendants. So let's begin with our lesson. So what is a parent and a child? So for example, we have our HTML tag, and this is the parent of all these tags, or let's say for now this is the parent of our head tag and our body tag. And similarly, our h1 tag, our ul tag, our ol tag, and our definition list tags are a child of our body tag. So just for a recap, we have our HTML tag, which is our parent of our head tag and body tag, and these head tags and body tags are the child of HTML tags. Similarly, the title and meta tag is a child of head tag, and the h1 tag, unordered list tag, ordered list tag, and the definition list tags are a child of the body tag. And these list tags are not a child of these body tags. However, they are a child of this unordered list tag. So the question is, what relationship does this list tag have with this body tag if it's not its child? So the relationship is that it's the grandchild of the body tag, but in programming terms we do not refer as grandchild or grandparent. However, we refer tags as ancestors and descendants. So this list tag is the descendant of the body tag and the descendant of the HTML tag, but it cannot be descendant of the ul tag. However, it can be descendant of the ul tag, or is the descendant of the ul tag, but in programming terms we mostly refer it to the ul tag as a child tag. So now we know the difference between parent tags and child tags, or in other words, parent and child relationships. But now the question that arises is that what is the relationship of this h1 tag and this ul tag because remember that this UL tag is not the child of the H1 tag because it's not nested inside this H1 tag. If we clean up our code a little bit, you may notice that the strong tag is nested inside this H1 tag and the EM tag. So in this case, we have strong tag as a descendant of the H1 tag and a child of the EM tag. But coming back to the question, what is the relationship between the UL tag and the H1 tag? So in programming terms, they are known as siblings. So UL tag is a sibling of the H1 tag, the ordered list tag is a sibling of the unordered list tag and the H1 tag, and the DL tag is a sibling of the ordered list tag, unordered list tag, and the H1 tag, and so on. So this was the child and parent relationships. We learned about siblings, what are siblings, and we also learned about ancestors and descendants. So remember, HTML tag is the parent of all tags or the ancestor of all tags. Head tag and the body tag are child of the HTML tag, and the other tags are present inside the head tag and the body tag and are the child of either the head tag or the body tag, and so on. So you can consider it as a family tree. So this was the end of this lesson. I hope you learned about parent and child relationships, you learned about siblings, etc. So stay tuned, stay focused. If you have any questions regarding this or any questions regarding this whole course, feel free to ask me via messages or in the discussions tab. So stay focused, stay tuned, and let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, and welcome back. In the previous lesson, we learned about the parent-child relationships and also learned about siblings as well. In this lesson, we're going to be working with heading tags, and we're going to learn about the different types of heading tags that are present in HTML. So first, let's get rid of all of this in this body tag, and let's have a clean body tag over here. So in this body tag, I'm going to create some heading tags. So we have 6 heading tags in total in HTML, which is H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. And mostly programmers use only H1, H2, H3, and H4. However, they do not use H5 and H6, but H5 and H6 are very important for Google bots if you want high SEO results for your website. So let's first create an H1 tag, and inside this H1 tag, let's write my website. Now if we save this, open up our index.html file, you can see that we have an H1 tag and it's bold and it's also much larger in font size. So this is by default that Chrome provides us with. So now if we use an H2 tag, let's see what will happen. So after the H1 tag, let's use an H2 tag. Let's write about us. Let's save this, go back, refresh, and we have a heading 2 tag which is much smaller in size and is less bold too. Now the third tag that we'll use is H3, and inside we're going to write contact us. Save this, go back, refresh, and we have a more smaller line of text and less bold as well. So this was our heading 1 tag, heading 2 tag, and this was our heading 3 tag. So if I inspect element or view the source by pressing Ctrl plus U on Google Chrome, if I'm using Windows, I'll get to know the source of our HTML file. So this was our heading 1 tag, about us is our heading 2 tag, and contact us is our heading 3 tag. Now let's close this, and now let's inspect the element. Now if I hover over to this my website thing, you can see that it's a heading 1 tag, and that's why by default by Google Chrome the website is this heading 1 tag is much larger in size as compared to this heading 2 tag and heading 3 tag. So now as we use heading 4, heading 5 and heading 6 tag, the text will be much smaller as compared to heading 1, heading 2 and heading 3 tags. So basically the heading 1 tag is used for the main heading, the heading 2 tag, the heading 3 tag and so on are used for the subheadings. So the heading 2 tag is used as a subheading for the main heading, the heading 3 tag is used for the subheading of the H1 tag, and so on. So for example, let's enter some text after every heading tag. So let's insert a paragraph tag, let's insert some lorem ipsum. And the good thing about lorem ipsum is that in brackets editor or in some other editors, for example Atom editor, if you write lorem and then press tab, you will get a quite good amount of lorem ipsum automatically. So let's copy it from here, paste it after our heading 2 tag and our heading 3 tag as well. Let's fix this. Now let's save this, go back, refresh. So we have our main heading, some text, our subheading, some text, and our subheading, you could say, of our About Us heading. So this was the end of this lesson. We learned about heading tags, we learned about how many types of heading tags are present, and what are the functions of these heading tags. So stay tuned, stay focused, and let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, welcome back, and in this lesson we're going to be learning about block quotes. So let's navigate to our brackets editor, and over here we're going to get rid of this anchor tags and we're going to insert a block quote tag. So a block quote tag, close this, and inside this block quote, for example, let's write a quote. Let's consider this as a quote that practice makes you perfect. So this is a quote, we have a quote, and if you save this, go back to our browser, refresh, we have a block quote over here. And this block quote, what this block quote does is that it indents the text or line of text to the right side of the page, or gives a 1 finger line or 2 finger space between the border and the text of the page. So let's navigate back, and if we insert some inverted commas here and at the end of this text as well, save, go back, it will just simply insert some inverted commas. So basically the function of block quote is just to give an indent, and you can style this block quote as you wish. You can insert inverted commas and style those inverted commas, etc. So basically this was a quick short lesson on block quote, and you will learn more as we move on with these lessons. So stay tuned, keep practicing, revise what we did before, anchor tags, how to link pages, how to use block quotes, how to create heading tags, how many types of lists are there, how many types of heading tags are there. Stay tuned, keep practicing, and let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, welcome back, and in this lesson we're going to be learning about anchor tags and what are their function and how do we use them to link one page to the other or one website to another website. So first let's get rid of this code inside our body tag, and over here we're going to create an H1 tag, and let's again write my website. And to create an anchor tag, we need to wrap this my website inside an anchor tag and close this anchor tag before our H1 tag but after our my website. So here's our anchor tag, but still we have one thing or one step left, and that is that giving our anchor tag an href or href, whatever you call it. Some programmers call it href and some call it href. So in my case I call it href, so we have to give it an href tag. Open up double quotes, and over here we're going to link it with our page or website. So for example, I will be going to link it with my website, www.claydesk.com/ecampus. So now if I save this, go back to our index.html file, refresh this, I will get a heading 1 tag, which is bold, which is much larger in font, and I've also given it the anchor tag with an href attribute, and because I've given it an anchor tag, it is underlined that it's showing it's a link. So if I click this, it will navigate me to my website. I can simply, after the href tag, press space, give it a target, and inside the double quotes I'm going to insert an underscore and blank. Now if I save this, go back, refresh, open it up, you'll notice that it opens up in a new tab. So this is what I want right now, so this is perfect. Now let's close this, navigate back to our code editor, and over here we learned how to link another website to your website. So now what if we need to link pages? So first I'm going to open up my root folder, and over here I'm going to create a new folder named e-learning, and in this e-learning folder I'm going to move my index.html file. Now here we have our e-learning folder, and in this folder we have our index.html file. Now let's close this, go to file, open folder, and over here we're going to select this folder. So now we have our e-learning folder, and inside this e-learning folder we have our index.html file. Now in this e-learning folder I'm going to create a new file, and this file will be about us. Let's save this, give it a name, about.html. Make sure it's dot, save, go back to our index.html, simply copy it from here and paste it in your about.html, and inside this index.html file, now what you need to do is give some space, create a paragraph tag, and write about us. Now we have to wrap this about us inside anchor tags and give these anchor tags an href or href. So I'm going to give it an href of about.html. Now if I save this, go back, refresh, it says your file was not found, or it may have been moved or deleted. So it's not deleted and it's not found. So basically this error is because we have moved our file. So we need to go back and open up index.html from here. Now we have our e-learning and then our index.html file. And over here we have our about us. Now if you click about us, it navigates us to our about.html. Now what if we need to create another folder inside this e-learning? So I'm going to go back to my folder, and inside e-learning I'm going to create a new folder, about, and move this about.html inside our about page. Minimize this, and it says external changes, about.html has been deleted on disk outside of brackets but has unsaved changes in brackets. So I'll say keep changes in brackets editor. I have about.html inside this. I'll close it from here. I'll delete it from here. So we have to navigate back here and then delete it from here, and now we have our about.html inside our about folder. And now if we go back to our index.html file, click about us, it will say your file was not found. But if we add another folder after e-learning, press enter, we will have our about us page over here. So to fix this, we have to go back to a brackets editor. Inside our index.html file, we need to say that our root directory, and then about, and then about.html. So these two periods and then a forward slash means that it will look for the root directory, which is e-learning, and then it will look for the about folder inside e-learning, and then it will open up the about.html file. So this was the basics of anchor tags, how to link one page to the other, and how to link one website to another website using some basic steps. And one more thing that I want to teach you in this lesson is that how to get rid of the underline over here. Now if you want to get rid of the underline over here, you simply need to navigate to a brackets editor, and over here you need to give some style. Open double inverted commas and give it a text decoration property, and give the text decoration property a value of none. Close it with a semicolon. Save this, go back to your website, refresh, and we have our my website without the underline over here. Similarly, it's the same case with the about us. If you want to remove the underline underneath the about us, you simply need to put a style attribute and give it a text decoration property and give it a value of none, and end it with a semicolon. So this was the end of this lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed learning anchor tags. So stay tuned, stay focused, and let's move to our next lesson. Hello guys, and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to learn the necessity of div tags and why do we use them. So first of all, let's navigate to our brackets editor in which we have done all of our coding. So here's our brackets editor, and in this lesson I'm going to tell you how to insert div tags and why do we basically use div tags. So div tags will be created inside our body tag, and we will close this div tag right after our last image tag. You can also call them as a bucket, and this means that it covers all of our code such as these image tags and our block quote tags. And we can use style.css to style these div tags, or in other words call these div tags, and as soon as we give some style to these div tags, it will be applicable to all of these tags present inside this bucket tag, or in other words our div tag. So let's navigate to our style.css file, and inside this file I'm going to call my div tag. I'm going to open up my curly braces, and inside this tag, for example, let's say I'm going to give it a margin left of 50 pixels. I'm going to save this. I'm also going to save the index.html file. Now I'm going to navigate back to my index.html file, refresh, and you notice that we have a margin of 50 pixels from the left. So what if I increase this margin in my style.css? For example, I change this to 400 pixels, or let's say change this to auto for now. Save this, go back, refresh. So it does not do anything. And what if I change this auto to 400 pixels over here? Save this, go back, refresh, and you can see that it has moved all my div tag, or in other words all the items present in my div tags or all the tags present in my div tag to the center of the screen, almost the center of the screen, or in other words 400 pixels to the right from the edge of this screen. So one more way to do this is, for example, if I don't have these div tags, let's get rid of this div tag, save this, go to our style.css, and over here instead of this div I'm going to call my paragraph tag, and I have my block quote tag and my image tag. So I don't have my paragraph tag over here, I have my block quote tag and my image tags. So let's save, go back, refresh. Now it's a little bit messed up over here, it's not in line and so on. So this makes the page a little bit sloppy, and this is not a good practice, and that is why programmers use div tags instead of using these. So let's wrap this again inside a div, save this, wrap this inside a div too, save this, and now once we refresh we get 400 pixels margin from the left. So this is why we use div tags. It's just that we can move the items or other tags present inside the bucket tag, or in other words div tag, wherever we want on our web page. Now one more thing is that we can style this div tag too. For example, if I need to give my div container or my bucket a color, I can go back to my brackets editor, and over here I can give it a color of, let's say, red. I'll save, go back, refresh, and nothing happens. It's perfect because I have to write over here background color. Now if I save, go back, refresh, we have a background color of red, and we have our div moved to the right side because we inserted the property of margin left and we inserted the value of 400 pixels. We can also make text align to center, refresh, and now we have all our images to the center of our div tag. So this was the end of this lesson. We learned that why are div tags used, and we learned why most programmers use div tags instead of separate tags and calling separate tags in style.css. So stay tuned, keep practicing. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the discussions tab, and let's move to our... Hello guys, and welcome back. And in this lesson we're going to learn what are IDs and classes and what are they used for. So basically IDs are used for giving style or calling the tag, the specific, or in other words the particular tag, to our CSS file to do our styling. And we also can style our tag inside index.html file within our head tags. So for example, if I give this block quote an ID of, let's say, block quote, let's save this, and inside our head tags I'm going to open up my style tags, give us some space over here, and over here I'm going to call my block quote ID. And remember, whenever you're giving style to an ID, you always use a pound sign or a hashtag sign, whatever you call it. So I'm going to use a hashtag sign over here, call my block quote, give some curly braces, open up my curly braces, and then I'm going to give it an ID, for example, of, let's copy it from here. So I'm going to copy this anchor tag, paste it inside this block quote, and get rid of this anchor tag over here because I've called the ID of block quote. Let's save this as well. Let's give it a different color because we've given the background the color of red and we can't see the block quote right now. So let's give it a color of, let's say, white. Save, go back, refresh. Now we have our block quote having a color of white, and we called it using our ID over here. And we don't have any styling in our style.css that we have done to our block quote. We are only using the ID, calling it within our head tags, and then giving it some properties and giving the properties some values to style our block quote tag. Now this was the function of ID. Now what if we need to, for example, call multiple tags and give style to multiple tags at the same time? For example, if we have a couple of buttons inside our website and we need to give all those buttons the same styling. So what programmers do is that they give those buttons or whatever tags that they are a class, and they keep the class the same for every tag. For example, I've done over here, I have 3 image tags and I've given them a class of image to every image tag. So this means if I call the image tag over here, it will style all the images or any tag that has the class of image. So moreover, if I need to style my images inside the index.html file, I'm going to give us some space over here, simply cut this image tag from here and paste it inside the style tags in our index.html. Save, go back, refresh, and we have the same styling that was present before. So this means we're doing perfect. So this was the end of this lesson, and in this lesson we learned why do programmers use IDs and classes and what are the difference between these two things. So the main difference is that ID is used for a particular tag and classes are used to call multiple tags at the same time. And one more thing to remember is that whenever you call an ID you use a £, and whenever you call a class you use a period before writing the name of the tag. So this was the end of this lesson. Keep practicing, stay tuned, and let's move to our next lesson.